Apathy. Apathy is defined as a general lack of concern, care, interest, or intrigue in a certain topic. Apathy comes from the French root word of pate, which means to suffer. It has the Latin prefix of a placed right in front of it, which means without or to not have. This means, directly translated, apathy means without suffering. Empathy. Empathy is defined as a ability to care, to relate, and to understand the feelings of one another. Like apathy, empathy comes from the French root word of pate. However, it has the Latin prefix of "em" in front of it, which means to have, to possess, or to obtain. This means, directly translated, empathy means to have suffering. You'll often see in leadership spaces that it's promoted to have empathy, to understand, and to care, and to relate. But if empathy means to have suffering, why do we promote it so much? This is because, ironically, I have discovered that our ability to suffer can be good. My name is Zarian Faisal. I am a grade 10 student at WH Croxford in Airdrie. I was originally born in Islamabad, Pakistan, before moving to Abu Dhabi, then to Calgary, and finally settling here in Airdrie. I remember when I first got my acceptance email from Leadership Academy, my immediate thought was, wow, they're letting anyone into this. I was really apathetic about the opportunity. I didn't think this academy was anything legitimately important. I just treated it as this extracurricular that I could use to buff out my schedule and look good on college applications. Miss Curry, I'm so sorry. Then I came to my second meeting in the leadership workshop program, and this was the Social Impact Lab in downtown Calgary. I immediately knew I was just in love with this workshop because they had a downstairs pasta bar that you could go during lunch. But also, I really resonated with the message they had in their workshop. The Social Impact Lab's basic lesson was that by contacting and communicating with marginalized and underrepresented groups, we could bring about important systemic change for these marginalized communities. Now, they introduced us to one of their recent projects that demonstrated this lesson. It was an effort to help a underprivileged community in Okotoks. Now, this project wasn't anything extravagant or as critical as it may seem. It wasn't the building of a water well or a new infrastructure project. All it was a simple platform. They invited residents of Okotoks to come in, speak their mind about the issues prevailing in their community, and try to reach a meaningful solution. I was just in such awe about this message because it seemed so simple to me. Whenever I think about social justice or think about these initiatives that are humanitarian, I think about building water wells. I think about going to different countries and making meaningful change. But all these people did was express empathy. They listened to one another and they valued the opinions of those who are less fortunate. After this workshop, I immediately viewed Leadership Academy not as just a meaningless extracurricular for college applications. I instead viewed it as something worth my time and something I wanted to pursue in the future. But you may be asking yourself, why? Why did I go from being so cynical and only caring about a pasta bar to actually wanting to pursue leadership and wanting to create meaningful social change? The short answer, empathy. The long answer, I'm very visibly South Asian, as you may tell. I look good here, I know. And both my parents are immigrants who came from Pakistan. My mom and my father are really dynamic people, and they have always championed me to pursue social change and to stick to my morality. My parents were born and raised in Pakistan, and words cannot describe the patience I know was demanded of them to be able to move to a whole new country and withstand all the things they went through. So I'm not even going to begin to describe it, but no, I'm so thankful for that. Instead, I want to focus on what their suffering and what their resilience gave me. It gave me the ability to care. It gave me the ability to have a strong sense of justice and to always call out what was wrong and to be grateful for my privilege. That privilege being a stable access to education and a roof over my head. I am grateful for what my family has given me. I am grateful that I can wake up every morning groggy as ever, go to school, talk with my friends, and try and fail to learn math. But I also know I cannot ignore the suffering of people around the world just because I'm more fortunate than them. So, as I have heard stories coming out of places like Gaza, Congo, and Sudan of mothers grieving their lost children, of missiles, of starving, of famine, I knew it was imperative that I do everything in my power to champion for these people. But somewhere along the line, I got lazy. I don't know how and I don't know when, but I became desensitized to human suffering. It just all felt so much bigger than me. These were people an ocean away, millions of them, suffering on a daily basis. How was I meant to help them? I had to take care of my own life. I had exams to do, tests to write, essays to make. I just couldn't keep up. But this apathy stayed with me longer than I'd like to admit. But going back to this year's experience at the Social Impact Lab, when I saw the members of the lab care so deeply about the issues they dealt with no reward, no compensation, no big glorification, it made me want to care. Sure, they weren't remaking the world immediately, they weren't creating major infrastructure that changed the course of multiple people's lives, but they made a difference. They were listening to people, they were listening to the underrepresented, and they were giving them a platform to speak. That's when I realized the cure to my apathy was ultimately an expression of empathy. It may sound silly and it may sound really basic, but the quickest way that we can combat apathy within our society is simply to take that daring choice to express empathy. And that is not an easy thing to do. To care is a revolutionary act. It's an act in which you disregard the comfort you have been afforded your whole life and instead willingly choose to suffer in solidarity alongside the oppressed. But it is so crucial that we maintain and curate empathy in our society and fight against apathy. The Social Impact Lab's choice to constantly fight for the underrepresented and for the oppressed inspired me to care, inspired me to try and be a leader. And to me, that's what leadership is. It is at its most basic core the ability to care and the ability to express empathy. I mentioned earlier that the spread of empathy and the daring choice to care will spread around and make people want to care as well and want to fight. And I want to just take a brief moment to acknowledge all the leaders here who have made my life better and who have inspired me to care. To my mother and my sister, Alia and Sanara, both of whom who have always championed me to stand up for what is right and what I think is wrong. To my three teachers, Miss Nannon, Miss Rushford, Miss Cunningham, who have all inspired me to call out racism, to call out all the social justices I see, and to write about it openly. I want to share with you what I have done to combat my apathy and to stand here today as someone who's chosen to suffer with others. This year, I wrote an essay about growing up Pakistani, Canadian, and Muslim in Canada and about all the experiences I faced, which was thanks to this lovely teacher, Ms. Cunningham's support. I also made a website in which I detailed and tried to elevate the voices of women of color in regards to the misogyny they face, which I thank my teachers, Ms. Rushford and Ms. Nannon, for helping me in doing so. And all of this was in my way of trying to continue the radical legacy of empathy that so many people before me have brought. As you leave today, I would ask you to try and deconstruct your apathy. What have you become desensitized to? And what programs and organizations are there that need help in fighting for the underrepresented and the oppressed? Where is your voice needed? We owe it to ourselves and to our local and to our global community to show others how to care and to develop our empathy over our apathy. Thank you.